Welcome to Around the Weird. Here's your host, the museum curator of the strange and unusual, Mr. Nothing.
Thank you, mysterious voice, and welcome back to Around the Weird, a booktube channel where I talk about all the unusual and out of the ordinary literature that I've found in my travels. Today it is Poetry Thursday, but I didn't want to talk about a specific poem. Rather, I wanted to highlight a couple of poems from one of the greatest poets out there. I am referring to My Poetry by me, Mr. Nothing. For those who don't know, Mr. Nothing is an American author. I jest, of course, although I am one of the better poets out there. I am actually doing a poetry challenge. It's the Book Titles Poem Challenge, which was created by A.J. Dunn. I will link to his original video in the description. I was challenged by Poetry Crone, a lovely booktuber who talks about poetry and goes way more in depth than I do, which is pretty cool. Her videos are fairly interesting, and I always learn something new about poets, especially checking out some of her videos. She challenged me. I have no idea how she found my channel, but here we are. And I thought I would follow through and create some poems based on the challenge. Now, as for the challenge, there are specific rules. You have to only use book titles or story titles, and you can use like a, an, or the, or something. But I didn't find that to be very helpful in my efforts. And you also have to demonstrate that these are actual books, and usually that means showing them on screen or like digitally, but because that's going to take up too much time, I figured I would I'd just list them in the description below. All of these are books or short stories that have been written before and that I can assure you are actually exist. Just look in the description, and I'll also link to Poetry Crone's video in the description as well, so that you can find her channel and see how she did it. I'm doing things a little bit differently, and so here I have 3 poems for you. The first is a haiku. The second is a poem consisting of only John Steinbeck titles, since Steinbeck is one of my favorite authors. And the third poem consists entirely of short stories. So without further ado, let's read the poems. The first poem, which is a haiku: A Christmas Carol at the Mountains of Madness, Foundations of Fear. The second poem is, of course, all Steinbeck stories. The Grapes of Wrath. Their blood is strong. Of mice and men, the promise. East of Eden, to a God unknown. And the third poem consists entirely of short stories. A humble drama, Beware of the Dog. The Most Dangerous Game. The Open Window, What Was It? Locked Doors, The Circular Staircase. The Locket, A Shameful Affair. To Kill a Man. The Murder, Beyond the Wall, The Drunkard Confessing. Death Makes a Comeback. So in terms of analysis, I'm not actually going to analyze the poem, but the first poem was a haiku using A Christmas Carol at the Mountains of Madness and Foundations of Fear, and just turning A Christmas Carol into a scarier story than it already is. The second poem, of course, Steinbeck, and the third poem where I created a little story talking about a person breaking into a house to steal a locket, accidentally killing a person in the process, but managing to escape. But unfortunately, they celebrate by getting drunk, and somebody, they admit to it, and that person kills them and takes the locket. A fun little story there that highlights the beauty of murder and stealing things, of course. And so that was the Book Titles Poem Challenge. I am going to tag Lucas from the Bits of Lit in this. I'm also going to tag Noah from Everyone Who Reads It Must Converse. He reads quite a bit of poetry, I'm sure, so his video should be fairly interesting as well. Also, he has the weirdest books and the book titles, so he might be able to come up with some strange poems out of those book titles. If you want to comment about the poetry, do so below. I would love to hear from you. Otherwise, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that more people can find out about this challenge and Poetry Thursday, and also perhaps Poetry Crone, who is an interesting booktuber, and I'm sure people should check out more of her interesting YouTube videos about poetry and the like. But until then, I wish you the best of luck in your weird and poetic travels. Farewell.